welcome back to Double Down University. I'm back with you guys with another NFL Prospects video, and today I will be going over the Thursday night football slate of the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Tennessee Titans. I have 3 props for you guys, and I will also give you like a couple ones that didn't really make the list but are kind of fringe plays as well that you can add to your parlays, add to your slips. If you go 5 men or if you go 6, so the first one I have for you guys is Alec Highsmith over 0.25 sacks. The next one is Nick Folk over 5.5 kicking points, as well as Al Shazier over 10 tackles. So let's get into it. So I'm going to start off with kicking and kicking points. So the reason why I chose Nick Folk is because the Steelers, they give up a lot of field goal attempts to kickers on the weekly basis, and I will show you guys here. So opponent field goal attempts for the Steelers, they rank 27th in NFL, giving up 2.6 attempts per game. And then on the flip side of that, we have the Tennessee Titans field goals attempted, which is, I think, is around 2.6, if I'm not mistaken, for Tennessee, 2.3. So it's around 2. So all we really need is 2 field goals. But then we also have the bonus of, if, let's say, for instance, Tennessee scores, 2 or 3 touchdowns. Not saying that's going to happen, but let's say they score 3 touchdowns, right? Then you have the 3 points, 3 kicking points, and you just need 1 field goal. So all we really need is field goals in this type of matchup. The spread is really, really low at 3. So that tells you it's going to be a close game. So points could be hard to come by. I don't think the total is really, really high. So that could play an effect for, just field goals in general for both teams to be able to kick field goals. So I really, really like Nick Folk in this spot. And I wanted to go fantasy, but he only made 3 50-yard field goals, which were pretty much close to clear his fantasy at 6.5. I think his fantasy at 6.5. So he would still need a touchdown, extra point. So more so with distance, especially the reason why you would go with fantasy over kicking points would just be based upon distance of the field goals that he do make. So let's say, for instance, he makes 150-yarder and his fantasy is like 5.5 or so. Then that he will only need an extra point from touchdown as the extra point to go over. So you only look for fantasy with distance kickers that have good distance, like a Justin Tucker, a Jake Elliott, guys like that, or I know a guy, he's fallen off lately, but Graham Gano used to be that type of kicker where he can, he was just money every time it was an attempt, but now he's starting to struggle with the Giants. So but that's neither here nor there. But another thing I want to take into account too, and I want to show you guys, is that both teams play man coverage at a really, really high rate. Both are within the top 15 of playing man coverage in the league. So they play more man than they do zone. Now, my rule of thumb normally with man and zone coverage, especially from a wide receiver perspective, is that zone coverage tends to lead to more receptions. Man coverage leads to more yards. Because, for instance, if you're playing more zone coverage, then the wide receiver has to get into the little open spaces, open pockets of space within that zone to be able to be quarterback friendly and be able to show his quarterback a target to be able to throw the ball. So that leads to a lot of like short completions, short catches. Even if it's for no gain or 2 yards, it's still a reception. So you would tend to go more of receptions in zone and more yards in man, because if he was to beat his defender over the top for like a 50 or 60-yard touchdown or just a 50-yard reception, it would be, he would be closer to his yards than he would his receptions. Unless, you just run a lot of in-breaking man routes where you run a lot of slants, drags, things of that nature that can kind of beat man coverage and kind of, just kind of interfere with the corners and the DBs within the route tree. Like if you run 2 drag routes, pretty much they will kind of have a self-pick where they'll pick each other off, where one guy be wide open in the flats or whatever. So that's how I see it. But the 2 players I would go towards as far as receiving yards would be DeAndre Hopkins and who's the other guy? DeAndre Hopkins and Pickens. The only thing I would shy away from Pickens is just strictly for the fact of his quarterback is playing on a bad rib, which he is a game time decision, so keep an eye out on that. But the simple fact is is that you might be having Mason Rudolph throw him the ball come second half if he is to get, hit hard in that same spot to re-aggravate the injury. So just be mindful of that. So moving on to the next one, we are going to go with Alex Highsmith, his sacks. The reason being is he's starting to pick it up a little as of late. He had a half a sack last week. 2 weeks ago, he had a full sack. So he's starting to pick up, pace. And I think he's been one of their better edge rushers so far this year, on the opposite side of TJ Watt, of course. But let's say, for instance, Watt gets a sack and Highsmith is somewhere in the vicinity, and he joins in for the sack. He gets a half a sack and he clears his line. But also the big reason why I chose this is because Tennessee, they average 3.6 sacks per game on their quarterback. And then also the simple fact of they are on their backup quarterback, second string, third string, whatever you want to call it. So normally in those situations, they try to run the ball a lot more. But when he is going to be forced to throw the ball, it's going to be on like third and long, second and long, first and, if they say, for instance, they get a penalty where it's 1st and 15, he will be, forced to throw it, whether it's a check down or whatnot. But if they get him in a lot of third and long situations, I could see them pinning their ears back and being able to rush the passer and being able to get to him. And then he's also going up, I believe he's going to be on the left side, so on the left tackle side, which is Andre Dillard's side, who has been struggling so far this year as far as, pass protection, pass pro. So I think this is a big opportunity for Highsmith to be able to go in there and, get his little half a sack, or even get a full sack, and that'd be even better, the way he clears fully. So I really, really like Highsmith, especially with this Pittsburgh defense. They're going to look to try to get after Will Levis and not make it, where it's pretty much 7-on-7 like the Falcons made him last week, where all his throws were wide open down the field. They will kind of make it a little tighter windows, tighter throws where he has to hold the ball a little longer. And then moving on to last but not least is Al-Shazir. His tackles over 10. I know 10 is a high number for a linebacker, but the thing about it is that he's always around the football. He gets solo tackles, he gets assists, and then also his snap count is really, really high, as every week he's played at least minimum of 98% of the snaps, 98, 99, 92, 100% the last 3 weeks, and then last week he played 99% of the snaps. So I really, really like this, especially against Pittsburgh. If they are to go up at any point of the game, they will be trying to run the ball, trying to establish the run. So I really, really like him to be able to get in those couple tackles, and then Pittsburgh's offense, they don't really take a lot of deep shots down the field. Everything is kind of short, intermediate type of throws and stuff. So I think that he can kind of get into those little dump off screens, dump off passes to the running backs in the flats, or just the tight end across the middle. He can be able to join in for a tackle. It doesn't have to be a full tackle. He could be an assist too as well. So we get the benefit of the doubt where he probably just needs 5 tackles one half, 6 tackles the other half, or if he knocks it out by halftime and gets like 6 or 7 tackles by halftime, he would just need 4 or 5 tackles after that. So I really, really like his tackles. And then also another thing that I stumbled across as far as stat-wise is, let's see if I can find it. So defense, I think it's offensive. Let's see. Special teams. Nope. Here it is. So opponent tackles per game. Pittsburgh is top 5 in allowing the opponent to amass 55 tackles per game against them. So this is a really, really good spot. We have a top 5 team as well. So I think that he should have more incentive to clear this line, with them being able to, have a lot of tackle opportunities for Tennessee. So I really, really like Al-Shazir. So like I said, I gave you the 2 props that didn't really make the list, which was Hopkins and Pickens receiving yards, as well as the 3 that I have for you guys, which is Al-Shazir's tackles over 10, and then Nick Folk kicking points over 5.5, as well as Alex Highsmith over 0.25 sacks. I appreciate you guys. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Best of luck tonight. Hopefully we sweep the board tonight. And I will see you guys next time. Appreciate you guys.